Let's talk about the 9 things that women could not do until the 1970s. My mother just recently passed away, and she was born in 1954. And I was comparing her life to mine, and I'm so grateful that my life has afforded me so many more opportunities than my mother had, and why my sisters and I have excelled past anything that my mother was able to accomplish. So let's start. Financial freedom. It wasn't until 1974 that all women in America were allowed to get a checking account, a credit card, and a loan from a bank without the co-signing of a man, which is why so many women had to marry right out of high school in order to build any kind of wealth. It wasn't until 1978 that women were not allowed to be discriminated in the workplace simply because they were pregnant. A lot of employers wouldn't hire a woman if she was pregnant, and they would fire women if they found out they got pregnant. It wasn't until 1973 that all women in all 50 states were allowed to serve on a jury and voice their opinion with judicial matters. It wasn't until 1976 that women were allowed to be admitted into military academies. Before that, they were only allowed to be nurses in the military or some kind of support person. It wasn't until 2013 that they were allowed to fight on the front lines. It wasn't until the 1970s that the Ivy League colleges and universities started to accept all women in all their programs. It wasn't until 1977 when women were allowed to sue for sexual harassment in the workplace. Before that, they just had to put up with it. It wasn't until 1993 that women could file charges against their husbands for graping them. Before that, husbands could grape their wives as much as they wanted to. It wasn't until 2010 that insurance companies were required to charge women and men the same price, because they were always charging women more for health insurance, simply because we lived longer and we were more proactive about our health care, went to the doctors more, and had babies. It wasn't until 1972 that unmarried women, single women, had access to the birth control pills. Before that, they were only allowed to be used by married women for family regulation. But unmarried women shouldn't be having SCX. So why would they need the pill? I'm just so proud of my mom and all the women born before her who still became strong women despite the lack of rights that they had. And I'm so proud of my generation of Gen Xers who grabbed those rights by their balls and ran with them. Look how far we've come.